All those stories coming up this morning, and joining me to talk about it, National Review reporter and Fox News contributor Katherine Timpf, CrowdPack CEO and Fox News contributor Steve Hilton, and outside advisor to President Obama and Fox News contributor Robert Wolf. A lot happening this morning.
Big day.
Breaking news on KellyAnne Conway named counselor to the president. You've been in those inside circles, Steve. You've been in those inside circles. Robert, what do you think about this?
I think, listen, he trusts her. She's shown great judgment over the last year on his behalf, and she's smart. And I think it's kind of like what Obama did with Pluff and Axelrod. You bring some of your smartest people that you trust around you. It will be interesting the role she plays and how they do it all.
I think it's really great news and substantively really important, because you can't underestimate the pressure of the bureaucracy and the usual ways of doing things to kind of stand in the way of the big shakeup that Trump says that he wants to make. And so you've got to have people around you who are real allies in that fight. People like Steve Bannon and KellyAnne Conway. It's great news that she's there.
Yeah, that's true, but it's not an outside position. She's actually inside the West Wing.
And I wonder what's going to happen with her businesses. And we talk of conflicts on her end, as there have been with Trump. So I guess we'll have to see.
There's a lot of personalities in that group. It'll be interesting who he listens to and how they all jockey.
We're going to talk more about this. We've got Juan Williams coming up this morning. Detroit Free Press auto critic Mark Phelan is here. Former Trump campaign manager and Avenue Strategies partner Corey Lewandowski will join us, and the head of Maserati North America, Tom Shanley, is here. You don't want to miss a moment of it, so do stay with us this morning. And on to that breaking news right now. The transition team announcing moments ago that KellyAnne Conway will become counselor to the president. Trump saying, quote, "I am pleased that she will be part of my senior team in the West Wing." Joining us right now is Fox News political analyst and co-host of The Five on the Fox News channel, Juan Williams. Juan, good to see you.
Nice to be with you.
Your thoughts. Were you expecting KellyAnne Conway to join the inside Trump team?
No, and I'm not sure it's inside, so I'm kind of curious about that, because Steve Bannon is the senior advisor and the political wise man right now in the Trump regime, if you will. So the question is, how does KellyAnne fit in? Now, KellyAnne's role in the campaign was polling, and she did pretty well. She has a business, as Kat was saying, a business, and especially focused on women and how the GOP can relate to women. Is she going to play a similar role or a different role? Is it that she comes in and out? I don't know if she can maintain a business because of the conflict.
I've got a very strong sense that actually they work very well together as a team. I think we saw that in the campaign, and I think that the basic mission for both Bannon and KellyAnne Conway, I think, is to be the people that remind him of the promises that he made, and that he's got to fight for those against all the opposition that's going to come from inside the government.
So that's a little bit like a Valerie Jarrett in the Obama administration. The difference here would be that KellyAnne really does have kids. And I know she said to me, it's not just a game. It's not like, oh, I want to go home, spend more time with my family, that common and cliche excuse.
You can combine that. I experienced that working in a similar situation in the UK government, and I just insisted that I get home every night to put my kids in.
And she could do that. You're saying she could do that.
I don't know. There is really, when you work for the President of the United States, I'm surprised to think that there's a real work-life balance. I mean, it's 24/7.
Oh, she's shopping right now for a house in Washington. We learned that yesterday.
That makes sense. But I think if you got 4 kids, wow, that's a lot.
On top of the KellyAnne announcement, yesterday Trump announced UC Irvine business professor and Trump economic and policy advisor Peter Navarro will lead the new National Trade Council. I sat down with Peter before Election Day, where he talked about what matters to Americans. Watch this.
What matters to the American people in this moment is getting back to work and getting a decent wage. And so I'm going to come on shows like this. It's a great show. This is the show.
Thank you.
For business. And I'm going to tell you and the American people that Donald Trump has the best plan for growth. Cut taxes, cut regulation, eliminate the trade deficit, unleash our energy sector. That's it.
Now, Peter Navarro has been very critical of China, Juan. We want to point this out. What's your sense of how he will approach this new role on the Trade Council?
Well, I think everybody thinks that jobs is number one. I heard Trump say the other day at one of his celebration rallies, my agenda is 3 words: jobs, jobs, jobs. And I like that. I think that's a very clear from a messaging point of view. So what does he do? We just heard Peter suggest, oh, you cut taxes, you cut regulation, and then you suggest he wants to do something maybe about the currency manipulation on the part of China. But when we look at it, we know there's very little reality in terms of the currency manipulation at the moment. And secondly, when you talk about cutting taxes, well, that doesn't compare to the difference in wages between an American worker and a worker in Mexico, much less China.
I don't think it's just the currency manipulation. I mean, China has been basically taking advantage of the U.S. and taking the upper hand for years, whether it be stealing our intellectual property, whether it be not allowing American companies to get a foothold in China, forcing them
Remember
to
when Obama went there and tried to be nice, just completely disrespected?
They do not respond to anything other than strength, and I think that actually, finally, getting someone, getting people in these positions to say to China, we're not just going to do whatever you want because we're so desperate for your money and your investment, we're actually going to stand up for our own interests. I think it could bring about a big change.
I don't think you're talking only to the Chinese, though. I think you're talking to American corporate leaders, and you're saying to them that if you decide your bottom line can improve by moving elsewhere, don't do it. So what does that really boil down to? That boils down to tariffs. That boils down to punishing people who want to then bring their products back to the United
States. I bet he doesn't do it. I bet he doesn't do it.
I think it would start a terrible trend.
It's just a warning.
I'm not sure about that. If you actually look at modern manufacturing, a lot of these businesses actually would really like to be closer to the manufacturers. They can be more nimble, they can turn things around quicker, respond to the market quicker. And so actually, if you nudge them in the right direction, and I don't think the tariffs have to be huge to make that happen, I think they'll respond positively. They would like to be here manufacturing.
I totally disagree. I think getting into a tariff war will...
Yeah, but you go immediately to a tariff war.
It's not a tariff
I'm not talking about a tariff war. Yeah, but no, because you're putting forward a straw man. Yeah. No one's arguing for a tariff war. I didn't say that. Trump hasn't said that. Neither has Navarro.
They're probably not just going to just
You
take
can have
it,
an
like,
intelligent
okay, no
response
problem.
that is better than just saying, we'll do whatever China wants.
I don't think we do whatever China wants.
We do now.
No, we don't. We don't at all. That's just inaccurate.
Why? Why do you say that when we know that they steal our intellectual property and we don't do anything about it?
Listen, there's espionage probably going all over the world that you and I don't know about.
Okay.
Okay, let's just be clear, where things are being stolen and not stolen, where things are being hacked and not hacked. With respect to our country, okay, there isn't anyone who'd rather do business in the U.S., okay, come to the U.S., be in the U.S., and have their company in the U.S., around the globe. That's because we actually are the best place to be. We're a consumer-driven country. It's not surprising we buy China goods. We buy goods everywhere. But to be blunt, our deficit has gone way down. There's a lot of things that's happening on the right side.
But why are we always on the losing end of all these trade deals?
How do you say that?
But we're not.
We have a deficit with China. We have a deficit with Mexico.
Wait a second. Because we're a consumer-driven country and we buy things. Okay, and we happen to buy goods where we can find them on the most attractive pricing. We have we're 15.
But they want to sell to America, and we are losing money on the deal.
No, but we're north of a $15 trillion GDP. So when you compare where we are versus everywhere else, it's hard to make a comparison. People compare us versus Germany. We're 5 times Germany. So at the end of the day, it's just not equal comparisons.
You know, to me, a lot of this is apples and oranges, as you're saying.
It's not.
I mean, it's like when Trump says, I'm going to bring back coal jobs, and I think, coal jobs? What are you talking about? The coal industry is in decline. I mean, we have more natural gas.
Listen, we should be...
But wait, if you talk to people who actually run coal businesses, who have been
We had Bob Murray on yesterday. The guy's devastated.
But they literally say that relatively small changes in the regulatory regime would actually help them to make money.
You know what you need to change? Automation. You can have now 1 coal miner for what used to take 10 coal miners 10 years ago. That's just not going to change. Plus, there's this demand for coal today.
Listen, just on the coal mining, when I was running UBS, we did mountaintop removal financing. I felt kind of disgusted that we were approving it. But I always believed I can't be more onerous than the EPA itself, so we approved it. At the end of the day, most banks wouldn't approve it, so their financing got shut. Okay, there's a lot more to the coal industry than just what's happened with clean energy and renewables.
The really big change here, I think, is that for years now we've had this kind of slightly despairing attitude. We can't do anything about automation; jobs are going to go. We can't do anything about globalization; it's all just going to end up going to China.
We should just roll over and die.
Exactly, and I just think that having someone who feels a sense of actually we have the power to try and turn these things to our advantage and actually create modern manufacturing jobs here in America using automation education to do the modern
And
technologies.
train the people. Get this right skill set.
I'm all for training people, but I just can't believe that you would say that with our low unemployment, with our constant
It's not
steady
low
growth,
when you look at the number of people who
you know,
should be
this
working
is just
who are not.
rhetoric. I mean, to me,
It's
you
not
could be
low.
out
The
on the
real
campaign
unemployment
trail.
rate is
The fact-
closer to 10%. We know that.
What?
You 6. You're talking about
No,
numbers that people
yeah, tell you
don't
what,
believe.
we've used the
4.9%.
standard measure of unemployment in this country forever. If
People
you
don't
want to
believe the
change
number.
it, you want to go back. Oh, what was then unemployment when Obama came into office?
It was almost 17%
Yeah.
if you use that.
Yeah, I mean, so that's not fair.
One in 5
You mean that's
households
low?
in America doesn't have anyone working.
No, but I think you guys should stop talking down America, because this economy, as Robert was saying, is the envy of the world, and
Yeah.
you need to tap
It
into
might be
that.
the envy of the world, but most people haven't seen their wages move in 20 years.
Yeah,
I think
wages,
that-
but wages are now starting to edge up, and I would
They've had their best
focus
year
on
in
the
a decade.
They're lower
positive.
than the year
Wait.
2000. Wages
That's
are
just
lower than the year
false, right?
2000.
Best
The
in
median
over a decade,
wait,
though.
that's a really important. But the median income in America this year, even with the increase that happened last year, is still lower than in 1999. That means that
gee.
half of
That's what I
American
just said.
households are
Yeah.
earning
And
less. than
imagine,
before. And wait,
imagine if you had a historical memory of what happened in this country and the
that's not
depth of the recession.
And that is not a political point, because that covers the 8 years of Obama and the 8
Well,
years of Bush.
we are almost 10 years after the financial crisis. I mean, at
Yeah.
some point, it's like, what have you done to fix it?
Yes,
A lot of
and
it is-
he did a lot. That's why I think a part of his legacy going out is going to be centrally the recovery.
Wait, it's
Hey,
all-
by the way,
we talk
why?
about
You weren't
manufacturing
getting
jobs too, which
It's gone in the
people,
wrong direction,
you know,
Juan. Poverty is up. People working.
Poverty's down year in the last year. Your wages are up.
That's
Hey, can I just say, Juan is getting creamed on
Poverty
Twitter.
went down in the last
Yeah.
You are getting smashed on Twitter right now,
Oh,
okay?
my gosh.
Hey, Juan, this is from Lowell Menenga. Juan, you don't think women with kids, as KellyAnne, can handle a job? How
No.
about men with kids, okay?
I
You're
think
bringing up her
KellyAnne
4
can handle
kids.
anything she wants.
You're
It's a
getting
choice.
creamed. Did you just mention her 4 kids, says Vicky Vertel? Why do you have a problem with a woman with 4 kids?
Oh, maybe she told me that, huh?
Who'll answer you on Twitter? Juan Williams.
Glad it's not
Thank
me
you so
saying
much. Back in a minute.